perspective. Me remaining alive is going to serve a greater purpose to my family. It's going to avoid
I get your point.
It's going to avoid the pain and suffering that they deal with as it relates to just my death. And then, like, I'm going to be gone, can't provide for my kids and family.
Unless Brian's talking about sacrificing himself for someone else, and meanwhile he has a family or something. I guess I kind of get a little bit where he's coming from, but it still doesn't. That's what makes it honorable, though. It's hard to
exchange
articulate.
would be, but if I do die and all those bad things also happen, they will feel a sense of like, wow, my father died with honor. Fuck honor.
But if you're
I'm going to survive. I'm going to do what it takes to survive for my family.
But that's why they're not checking, okay, how indispensable are you to your family before we let you on this boat? It doesn't matter if you're upper class, middle class, poor.
Mm-hmm.
All the men do the same thing.
Right.
Because
they talking about like after how do I say it the safest way possible, cleanest way possible, after he completes in her mouth after oral, that they're surprised that he wants her to brush her teeth. I mean, isn't that kind of understandable? Why are they shocked by that? Are like, what? You want a woman to brush her teeth?
Autoclaved. Is that, wait, what the? I could have autoclaved that shit and I wouldn't even like kiss. Like I could just be fresh out of the shower, done some crazy shit. UV radiation, UV light. I wouldn't do that.
Would you kiss a woman after? Would you expect a woman to kiss you after going down on her?
Oh, that's funny because I don't do that.
You're lying.
I don't.
You've never gone down on a woman.
Oh, I have.
But you don't.
Let me tell you the last time I did that. It was the Bush administration. You got to remember I'm 36, right? So this is the tail end of the Bush administration. It was like 2007, 2008. Obama was about to come into office. I have not gone down on a girl since George Bush Jr.? It's Jr.
Yes.
Since he was the president of the United States. The great United States.
It's been a long
He's just trying to
time,
say
is
it's been a
what
long
he's trying
time.
to
Yeah.
explain.
Come on,
Why
lady.
the shirt?
Any
Why?
specific reason behind
Relax, Felicity. I know you're very.
Notice how she's like all shocked by this. Like if a woman came out and said, "Oh yeah, I don't like going down on men," she'd probably be like, "Oh okay, yeah, that's empowerment. You know, you should have the choice." But when a man says, "Well, I don't like going down on a woman," she's like, "What? You don't like that? How dare you?"
Very curious about this.
I don't understand it.
Yeah,
why do you love big labia so much, but you won't?
I mean,
you won't go near one? I know that's.
I mean,
it
a
seems
girl
a little bit.
like
Do you really love it, or is
Apparently
it
not.
just,
I do. I am a fan of
You're
big
a poser.
labia.
From like far away.
Poser.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a poser.
Yeah.
She's trying to shame me into
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you expect a woman to go down on you? Would it be would you feel upset if she never wanted to go down on you?
It's not a deal breaker if a girl
never. Like she never will.
No, not a deal breaker.
It doesn't matter to you?
It's not a deal breaker, but do they do it anyways? Like have I dated women who go down on me? But yes.
Sure, but
it's not a deal. It's not a deal. Would I prefer them to go down on me? Yeah, it's great. But I have a sexual boundary. I have a sexual boundary.
I mean, sure, yeah, whatever floats your boat.
See, she's not offended.
For the perfect
Why
woman,
is she
would you go
offended?
down on her?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I talked about
What
this.
is it?
For the perfect woman, would he eat the box?
Yeah, sure. For the perfect woman, yes. But that does not exist.
Would you?
I wonder if Brian was just. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. I don't want to start sounding like these women.
Sleep with a woman on her period?
Boys, it's greased. Hold on, let me get to that. in a second.
I don't like these kind of
Grease.
conversations.
That's funny.
Why?
It's just a visualize.
Your hands greased it. You got it all greasy. Can't open it.
Really trying.
Greased.
Your eyes look like they're gonna pop out of your head when you do that.
Damn, bro, that's crazy. Yeah, the other champagne bottles are not. All right, let's get.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody want
Tilt
more?
his cup.
Oh no, this is just
I
for
think the Warren's
Warren, I
clip
guess?
is from the Moral Dilemma.
Anybody want to fill up?
You'd like to give the
very
rest
much.
of
You're
us?
saying tilt
On
the
the
cup.
case.
Yeah, I used to be a
Wait,
That's
bartender.
why you're on the
I gotta
case.
tell you guys the thing though. First off, look, it's
Like, I am
it's
on
a
it. All right, so let me find the timestamp. What is it again? 2:21. 2:21. We call that already. You know what's funny? That's a good question. And now that I think about it, yeah, because I use my non-dominant hand to open jars. I hold it with my dominant hand, which is my right, and then I twist it with my left. Like I twist the top off, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's a comfortability thing or what, but yeah, to me, it's just more comfortable doing it this way. I don't know. I think maybe it's because. Okay, shut up, Siri. I don't know if like it's just because I need my strong hand to grip the jar tightly, you know, and then I could just use that to like twist along. Like maybe it's because I'm using it more to hold the top, and then I'm more twisting it with my dominant hand. You know, maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. I never really put much thought into it, though. But maybe that's what's going on. Same, but at first I thought the olive jar was a psyop. I realized I do it too. Yeah. See? These are good questions. Good thought-provoking questions to have. 2:21:55. Let me find this. 2:21. All right, here we
To
go.
train tracks.
Yeah, sure. The hypothetical, yeah, sure. That's more likely to happen. But I mean, the scenario where it's like one person has to move in front of the bullet and to block. I mean,
It's not
that's
realistic with timing, considering how
I don't
fast
think
bullets
that's
move.
really.
That's why we
Yeah.
use the Titanic example.
What would you do, Warren? You gonna get on the lifeboat, or what are you gonna do?
Acknowledging that many people will say that they would, and there's no way to know it. I'm going to say I would, though. Because, yes.
You would get on the lifeboat, or you'd stay
I'm
on
sorry.
the.
I would not.
You'd stay on the Titanic and sink. Okay. I don't have external to me pushback for anybody who would choose to do that. Aside from like, I think it is a sad state of affairs that
Well,
like
I believe in a higher power as well, though. So I
okay.
believe how you live. It's not just what you do, but how you do it in a way that's more profound than we can even articulate and understand.
Let me ask you a follow-up question, Warren. How do you categorize yourself politically? Are you conservative, moderate, liberal?
I don't know. I'll pull a Peterson on that. So on some things, I'm probably more conservative.
Okay. So let's say your Titanic situation. You could choose like person B, what the fuck? Person A, you can opt to take person A's seat, only that person's seat on the life preserver. You know person A's seat, this person is completely ideologically opposed to you, and you know they're a bad person, and they're also a child abuser. Under that circumstance, do you take their seat?
It's not about that.
By the way, that was a ridiculous.
I think your point, though.
Yeah, but would you
But
do
it's
it
not
in
about
that circumstance?
person. It's, as someone mentioned, the legacy how your grandchildren view you, how history views you, how a higher power views you, how everyone on that lifeboat views you. It's not about the person whose seat you're taking so that they can die because
Okay.
they're a child abuser. It's about something much deeper than that.
It's so that your relatives.
The guys who stormed Normandy, it wasn't about an individual, it's about something much larger that I think is deeply ingrained within them that caused them to be willing to do that, and we can't grapple with that today in the same way because we've kind of lost that. That was
So this is where I struggle with the Normandy example, though, is that certainly there were many, many veterans in World War II who were exceptionally brave and noble. But I do wonder that there are probably also, I wonder if there's some degree of, the words evading me, of storytelling that goes on when it comes to the sacrifices of young men related to like the Normandy landing or like other military conflicts. Like the actual process that like, I don't know if like during the, like say somebody was shot during the Normandy landing and then they like live for another like 30 minutes and they're bleeding out and they're dying. I'm not sure if like what's going through their head in that moment is like, I'm doing this for my country. Like I have this sense of pride, like glory. Like I don't think in that moment they're like glory. No. I think they're like calling out for their mothers and they're like, oh my God, I'm coming from fucking Nebraska and I had like Betty Sue.
I don't disagree with you.
And now I'm in fucking.
What's your point though?
My point is that.
What's your point though? I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, they're probably not going to be, as they're dying, they're probably not going to be sitting there like, oh man, I'm so glad I did this for my country. Like, no, they're probably not. But that doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean that they did something for some kind of greater good, or it doesn't mean that they weren't doing like the right thing though. You know, if I like saved a woman and when I was trying to, if I was trying to, so for instance, if my family were being attacked, right? And then I saved them, but when I was saving them, I got shot multiple times and I was dying. Like, I'm not gonna be sitting there going, I'm so glad that I did this for my family. Like, no, but it doesn't change the fact that I did something good for my family,
We perhaps romanticize the glory of war. And I do think there's plenty of men who are brave and they go out fucking guns blazing and that's badass. But I think like probably the majority of men who die in war, it's like cold and alone in some trench in a foreign territory or whatever it is.
I agree.
And it's not glamorous and there's no glory.
Well, that's why we should honor those men, because it probably was cold and lonely. And I mean, war is ugly. That's why we need to honor the men who fought for this country. That's exactly the reason why.
Or they're not even, they're literally just, they're fucking smoking a cigarette. They're eating their ration, and like fucking a shell just implodes their face, and they're dead instantly. And there's not even a thought process of like glory or anything. Like their sacrifice to the country, that should be respected.
Totally.
But in that moment, on the individual level, I don't know. I don't see it.
I think you're right. Yeah, if a bomb lands on your head, you're not going to think about much in that moment. Brigadier Nicholson, for example, at Dunkirk, they said draw the fire, knowing they gave that command, knowing 13,000 men were committing suicide. Had they not done that, they would not have been able to save 300,000. They would have lost almost their entire army. Was that the right call?
Was it? You said World War?
This is World War II. Dunkirk.
World War II.
Churchill made the order to Brigadier.
Okay. Yeah. So wait, what's the question?
Basically, you sacrifice the few to save the many, is what he's asking. Would you do that?
13,000 men to draw the German fire away so that they could pull 300,000.
Warren Smith reminds me of freaking like the wannabe like cool guy in like high school or something. Like, what was it? Never Been Kissed. Remember, there was that like hunky like guy, and he wore the same type of shirt in the same type of way, and everyone thought he was so cool and suave. But that's who he reminds me of. Like it's like he thinks he's being all cool and deep and stuff, and but he's just kind of like weird a little bit. That's kind of Warren Smith.
1,000 men off.
Okay.
Save their entire army.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's a component of masculinity where it's like.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, where you're like sacrificing. Well, she was making the point
necessary? There's one right move on the chessboard. If you don't make this move, you lose your army.
Oh, you lose your entire army.
Minds when the bomb.
Sure. Okay. Well, now we're getting away from the Titanic example, though.
Well, what leads men to be willing to take part in such an endeavor?
What leads them? You tell me.
I mean, this is a more philosophical question. That's why that goes back to the Titanic example.
Sure.
The same thing that would motivate you to not do what you're
But
proposing.
like the men who died on the Titanic,
Why do you think they
are
did
they
that?
like? But
Why do you think they didn't
but
get on
are-
the lifeboats and they just stood
There's
there?
not like
They
a
didn't just swim.
Titanic men's remembrance. Maybe there is. I don't
Exactly,
fucking know.
there's not. That's-
There's not. Their sacrifice. Whereas we have like Memorial Day, we have veterans. You know, soldiers tend to be, you know, have holidays dedicated to them. But like just a dude on the Titanic, it's like.
So you only do it if there's like.
I might be wrong on this, but isn't the whole principle behind like all the women and children is because, well, the children are going to be the future, so you can't sacrifice them. I mean, not only are they vulnerable, like the women and the children are the most vulnerable, but like the children are the future, and then the women can like birth the future. So we kind of need to preserve them over like the men, you know? Isn't that the whole concept? Again, I might be wrong, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud to myself the logic behind like saving the women and the children first.
Here, make a compelling argument for why I should not.
They're honored
Go on
within
the
their
li-
family. Within their family, like
How?
this is my grandfather who died on the.
It's just funny how Brian's arguing this. Like I picture him like have you ever seen like there's videos of people on a train or like on a bus, and there's like the guy sitting there, and there's like a pregnant lady standing up. She has to stand and none of the men want to stand up and give them her seat. I picture that like on the Titanic. If Brian were there, he would have just been sitting there on the stupid Mike. He would have just been sitting there on the boat, just like waiting to be like taken off. And then there's like a lady standing there, like, oh, you know, like just standing there looking at him. Brian just sitting there, just like, you know, like, that's how I picture Brian being.
On the Titanic for my grandma.
It's just
like,
a boat.
That's
It's just a boat of ladies, and then Brian just sitting there, just not giving up his seat as there's some lady like, I need to get off.
what matters
Honor?
to them.
Yeah, but like
Their children.
At what point does okay, let's say you're the main provider for your family and you're on the Titanic, and I know if I die on the Titanic, just by virtue of my death, that's going to be extremely alarming to my wife. Let's say I have kids, I have parents, I have siblings. That's going to be really hurtful to them. And then let's say I'm the main provider too. My children are going to grow up potentially in poverty. My wife is going to grow up struggling. So I don't know if the trade-off of, wow, my family is going to be like, wow, he was so honorable. Like I'm looking at it from, I don't know if it's more of a utilitarian
perspective. Like imagine like, you know, your kid and you grow up like, oh, my father died. And it's like, oh, that's sad. Yeah, well, he died defending our family, or he died defending his country. That's kind of honorable, right? You know, whereas imagine if the scenario that Brian's painting, right, where Brian just lets his wife die. It's like, oh, what happened to your wife? Well, she died. Oh, what happened? Oh my God, that's terrible. What happened? Oh yeah, some guy came in with a gun, and I would have defended her, but then I was like, yeah, but wait a minute, what if my wife, you know, needs me? She's gonna be broke after I die. So the guy just shot her, and then I went and I tackled him and I defended him, you know. It's like that's less honorable than the other option. And by the way, I think there's like government assistance that could help with that stuff, you know, at the very least. And you know, if not, again, the woman, you know, maybe she could find another man. I don't know. Or hopefully you're smart enough where you leave enough money behind. I don't know. But it still doesn't take away the fact that it's honorable. Mad Matt, good to see you. Yeah, that's actually why I'm watching this, because someone on the comments earlier said that Warren Smith said that he dismantled Brian. So we're actually watching it for ourselves now. So that's what we're doing right now.
Perspective, me remaining alive is going to serve a greater purpose to my family. It's going to avoid
I get your point.
it's going to avoid the pain and suffering that they deal with as it relates to just my death. And then like, I'm going to be gone, can't provide for my kids and family.
Unless Brian's talking about sacrificing himself for someone else, and meanwhile he has a family or something. I guess I kind of get a little bit where he's coming from, but it still doesn't. That's what makes it honorable, though. It's hard to
the exchange would
articulate.
be, but if I do die and all those bad things also happen, they will feel a sense of like, wow, my father died with honor. Fuck honor.
But if your
I'm
girl
going to
dies-
survive. I'm going to do what it takes to survive for my family.
But that's why they're not checking, okay, how indispensable are you to your family before we let you on this boat? It doesn't matter if you're upper class, middle class, poor. All the men do the same thing.
Right.
Because that's what we do.
What we do. Well, I would just reject that.
We have to.
We have to. Why do we have to?
Going back to Brigadier Nicholson, what's the right move?
But I think it's unfair to say like, okay,
They had to.
but let me ask you, Warren, let's say you were,
I wouldn't want to. I get your point.
no, you wouldn't want to, but you would do it regardless, right?
I wouldn't, I would not want to risk, I would not want to throw away. What's the point? It's a deeper, it
Of
sounds
life?
crazy. No, it's just, I wouldn't,
To survive. It's a biological imperative.
I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
If you let your girl
You would
die,
just
then
sit-
who
wait,
are you
wait,
going to
when you say
provide
you-
for?
I would,
Yeah.
I would probably commit suicide
No.
like the guy at the end of the movie.
Warren, you wouldn't. Wait,
what?
what happened in the
He
movie?
shoots himself.
Oh, because he was like, oh my God, people think I'm a pussy because I survived? Fuck them.
I think it's deeper than that. I don't think we can really understand the human soul in this way, really. It eats away at us. And maybe it's because I believe in a higher power. I think that evil is not a social construct. It exists and it can creep in.
Wait, you think it would
good
be-
intentions. And often we can logic our way into bad decisions. Because
Sorry, go ahead.
it's when illogical behavior saves you, is what is intriguing. And that's where spirituality for me lies. It's the only explanation. So we were talking about with Brigadier Nicholson, but Churchill saying, no, we're going to fight to the last man, only when the last one's choking their own blood, which is not logical. Everyone around them is saying, do the logical move. They're making your argument. What's the point of going down fighting when we can appease with Hitler, surrender, and live? And he said, it's better to die defending the temples of your ancestors. That will allow your forebears to rise again one day.
But I think the calculus here is a little bit different because if we're looking, if I take somebody else's seat in the life preserver on the Titanic, only one other, like it's one life to one life. Whereas like I don't know if it's a totally fair.
Like imagine you're Brian and you're on that boat just with your arms crossed, just like, so there's other lifeboats. And then you're on the lifeboat and there's just nothing but like women around you. And they're just kind of looking at you like, like you're like, what a piece of shit, you know? And Brian's just sitting on his boat like, fuck it, I got to save myself. You know? Like, everyone would look at you like you're the biggest piece of shit.
Comparison or equivocal to say, okay, well, if we sacrifice 10,000 soldiers to save hundreds of thousands of soldiers, that's something commonly done in warfare where it's like, well, okay.
It wouldn't be one life though, because it's all the men don't do it unless you're the only one. And that's what makes you lose your legacy.
Wait, all the men.
The men voluntarily stay back, except the one who doesn't. And that's why all the women sit there and stare at him. And
Well,
it destroys.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm very much okay with women giving me oh my God, I'm okay. Like I'm not, but
Fucking Brian,
I
dude,
would
he's
not,
funny.
social pressure or disapproval, like women's disapproval is not going to be sufficient enough for me to be willing to die because
It's
of
not
women.
even just women though. It wouldn't be just women. Other men would look at you like, dude, what are you doing? And you're like, oh, you know, like the boats come to shore or whatever. And it's just all women. And then Brian just sitting there on his boat, you know, with the women, and the men are like, oh, so there was an extra seat. All the other women were there. And he's like, no, I had to save myself. What? So what? Like the men would look at Brian and be like, dude, you didn't there's a woman that died on there and you didn't sacrifice your life. Fucking not my problem. Not my problem. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't even go down on her either. How about that?
Women's
I
disapproval.
was using that as
I know.
an example of it's much deeper
Sure.
than just the women on the lifeboat
But
looking at you.
you mentioned the word evil, though. Do you think it's evil for a man to get on the life preserver instead of a woman?
In that case, I mean,
Into the mic, if you
to
can.
be logically consistent, I mean, I was trying to make the point of it's easy to logic your way into evil. I'm not sure. I mean, it is self-preservation, and it's unfair, but so I'm not sure if evil would be the right word for it, but I think it goes against something deeper. I bring in the idea of the kids. What if your kids were on shore, and they would know? That would be enough for me. And if that would be enough for you, then it shows you the magnitude of that decision about this is something deeper, even if you don't have kids.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would be prepared, though, to say, and if my position isn't clear, even if I had nobody in my life, I would still take that option.
You'd be more likely if you had no one in your life. That's my point.
To what?
If you did have kids, and
Yeah.
they were and you would come home to them, and they
Yeah.
would know, and that would be your legacy. As we go down, let's just metaphorically, let's just for the thought experiment,
Sure.
it would go down into history, and then you'd be in this movie in 2012 or whatever, and they're depicting you on screen, and that's how you're going to be remembered. And you're saying it doesn't matter to you, and I can understand that. That's a logical argument. Why would you're dead? Who cares?
Oh, okay. Wait, so you're saying like, but when I'm still
I
alive,
would care is what I'm saying, and in that
Oh,
moment,
just to
that
be-
would make me take a different course of action.
what? So just to be clear, like when I say I don't like, it could very well be the case, like being labeled a coward, that would bring some degree of shame. It's not that I'm saying that there wouldn't potentially be guilt or shame, but I think my desire to say I have a family, right? My desire to survive for the benefit of my family, and then also I'm not going to virtue signal the benefit of myself and self-preservation. I am willing, in terms of the calculus of the comparison of all factors, the totality of all the circumstances, survive but like have shame. I would rather survive
And live with the shame.
and have shame than die and go out doing the honorable thing.
And listen, I'm not saying that that's not a how do you say, an understandable position. Like, listen, look, go on the lifeboat or drown in the cold water. I mean, that's a tough decision. That's why the men who make that decision and choose to die in the cold water, the cold freezing water, or drown or get eaten by sharks, whatever happened to the people, that's why it's honorable, because that is a tough decision to make. And so listen, at least Brian's being honest, but you could be honest with yourself and saying, yeah, listen, I'd probably be sit there on the lifeboat while the woman's crying on the ship. I'm like, yeah, so not my problem. The water's fucking cold. I'm not going to drown out here. At least he's being honest, but he has to be honest too with himself and admit that is not honorable, and that people will look at him a different way. He has to be honest about that
Thing, if that makes sense.
No, I get your
And-
position. We're kind of repeating it now.
Yeah. And even like, I would also frame it to my kids, like, there could
when he copes to his kids. Daddy, you let that woman die? Well, listen, I have a podcast to run, son. Who's gonna pay for your bills? Mommy can't do it. What, you expect mommy to pay the bills? Daddy, who's gonna pay your bills, kids? Who's gonna pay? I mean, I guess that's kind of less honorable. You're kind of a pussy. Yeah, so what? Shut up.
there could be social pressure impacting my kids, like, whoa, your dad wasn't willing to die. I'd be like, you might think that, but also I'm still here now, and your guys' life would be way more fucked up if I still wasn't alive. So to me, it's like, to the benefit of the family, to the benefit of myself, and that supersedes the external social pressure, social shame, social guilt, and and I reject the disposability of males. So it's just, I think it's a pretty coherent worldview.
I agree with you. Males should not be disposable.
But I mean, within your worldview, aren't they?
No, we're taking a specific hypothetical, whether it's Brigadier Nicholson or the Titanic, and saying, if you were in this horrific situation, what is the least bad course of action.
To the mic if you can.
That doesn't mean I think men are disposable. Like I can't just go.
I don't. Well, just to be clear, I don't think they're disposable, but I think society thinks men are disposable under both a yeah.
Then we go back to the Russian example of like, okay, if we are invaded, what do we do? Like, because it's utility.
Well, so I want to explore that a little bit when it comes to duties, and there's actually a chat that came in that will probably prompt this. Let me pull up the chat though, one sec. It is.
So, ladies out there, if you want to know if Brian would sacrifice himself for you, he would not. Just keep that in mind. And he will also not go down on you either.
Beaten cheeks. What duties do women bring to society, or better yet, what do you bring to the table to get your so-called dominant man? Plenty of men in the USA. Women need to be feminist at start, not after knowing a man. So going around the table, starting with you, what duties do women bring to society?
Good question. Like bring to society or bring into a relationship?
Nothing. Myself.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Queen, girl boss.
What duties do you bring? Like, do you have any duties to men? And then do you have any duties to society? And when I say men, like to your future husband or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say society. I don't know, I guess for me. For my man, I guess my duty is to be loyal and supportive, emotionally there, a motherly figure. Am I going the wrong direction with this? I thought you shook your head. No?
Oh, well, when you say loyal, I suppose this would be like a equal duty. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, I guess to be a motherly figure, be supportive, be like emotionally there. I don't know. It's hard to say because I think a lot of things go both ways. But
okay, sure.
Kind of hard answer.
What about you? Scoot into the table if you can.
So for society of relationships, both. I think for society, being teachers, being caretakers, that's an important role for women to take. In a relationship, I think like being a cheerleader and also being a place like a safe haven for a man. He can be out in the world being masculine and tough, but he can be vulnerable with me. And be a place of trust.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the nurturing side to both society and
All right. So that was that. I guess that was the Warren Smith, Brian. Yes, exactly, Rip. Brian ain't going down in any sense of the word. He ain't going down to the ship. He ain't going down with the ship, and he ain't going down on no woman. But so that was Warren Smith, I guess. That's how Warren Smith dismantled Brian. Look, I gotta say, Warren Smith, I'm not really a fan of how he talks or anything. He kind of comes off a little creepy-ish a little bit, but ad hominems aside, I do agree overall with what he was saying, and I do agree that he dismantled Brian. I actually do agree that Brian looked kind of horrible here, but not that I'm really shocked though. I'm not really shocked Brian answered in that way, and at least he was being honest. But Brian should realize though that it is less honorable. Like, just be honest with yourself. It is less honorable. Doesn't matter if you're brave enough to do it or not. It is less honorable. And you got to know that. You got to be honest with yourself and saying, yes, I am a less honorable man. I'm kind of a coward, ladies. Just so you know. Don't look to me to defend you. Do not look to me, because I need to take care of you. And if you end up going, then, well, if you end up dying, then I'll just find another woman that I have to take care of. So there's that. What did you guys think about this, though? Did you think Warren Smith dismantled Brian? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you liked it. Give my channel a sub if you really liked it. That'll help me out a lot. And I have some more stuff on the screen for you to click away and enjoy. So take care.